Right, we got facial tracking on. We got tracking on, baby. Right, welcome guys. In this video, I am going to show you how to fit a PTC heater or an auxiliary heater. So it's going to be a retrofit. You need a few things for this. You need a relay. You need some 16mm cable. You need some 2.5mm cable, a load of terminals, some heat shrink, the auxiliary heater itself and the plug, and a 100 amp fuse. Yeah. Let me show you guys what we got here. Right, so what I've got here, I've got about 2 meters of the 2.5mm cable. I've got 2 meters of the 16mm high flex cable, which you can see I've already fitted a terminal 2 on that side. That will go this side, we're going to put to the battery, and then I'll feed the rest of it through the vehicle, and then we chop and cut and put the terminals on as needed. Obviously we've got heat shrink here, and we've got some spade connectors. One is already fitted to the 2.5mm cable, and we've got one here. So as you can see, these terminal connectors will go on there, and we've got 2 spade connectors to go on there and there. I'm going to show you exactly where you guys need to put these on a mk5 GTI. So I've already done most of the stripping, so we'll skip them steps. There's a load of screws here. You take down the face, take light switch out, take the bottom panel off, and you get to the BCM. So on a BCM, one of the white cables will need to go to K1. So this white cable here, it will go into there. That is K on the BCM, K1. So if you look there, if it focuses, you should see a 1 on the plug. It's not focusing. There's a 1 on that plug, top left corner. So we're going to splice into that with the white cable. Then we're going to run it along, over, and up to where the relay is going to sit. So that's one of them. And then the other end of the white cable will go from the relay to a ground, and then we will have some of this cable will run directly from the battery to here, and then the other one will run from here to the plug. So I'll get all of this stuff cut up now, and I'll show you guys how we have mounted it. So if you have a look just down here above the ABS pump, you can see the extension, 1/4 inch extension there, and I've poked a hole through. I've already got an existing cable running through there for the subwoofer for the car to take it into the interior, as opposed to round the A-pillar and through the wing like most people do. And if we have a look up here, we can see that there. And what we can now do is we can tape this to that and pull that through. That will give us our cable routing out of the car, and then we're going to cut it to length once we've got it mounted up here. So if we pull on this, should bring our cable through like that. Now we don't have to pull it a crazy amount through. Obviously we need to reroute where that cable is at the moment. We want that to run underneath all of this stuff, underneath the battery tray, and we want it to come up here to the fuse box. So I'll get that routed now, get it bolted up to this bottom part of the fuse box, then we can go inside and cut it to length. And once you have run that, you want to pull the slack back, and now we're going to route this cable higher up to here, and then we're going to cut it, and we hopefully, I think it's going to be tight on the cable side of things, but we should be alright. And as you can see, I've fed the wire through, I've cut it, and I have bolted the relay up here so it's out of the way. Obviously bear in mind that there is going to be live power going through here, so you don't want it to touch any earth points. If you want, you can angle it away like that. Have one there, have one there. So I'm just going to crimp one of these terminals onto this now. Just got to cut the sheathing back, and then we can get that connected up to there. And that is the power feed to the relay done. I've done the heat shrink, and I've also connected the actual plug there to the existing cable. I'm hoping I'm going to have enough I think we may be cutting it very, very close, because I've also got to, I don't think we're going to have enough. I've also got to have enough to go from a ground point here up to wherever I can ground it to. I might be able to ground it to over here, to be honest. Could be lucky. So also I didn't show you this step, obviously, because mine is already done. But behind here, this is the PTC heater, or the auxiliary heater. It's held in with two 7mm or 6mm, I believe. It's a little bit awkward to get to. Maybe that's why I cut this. I'm not too sure. Obviously the glove box will hold that in place anyway. But you have to trim a little piece off the side here. So yeah, you basically pull this cover off here, which has got a couple of the 7mm, and then you chop a piece on the side away. I'll see if I can find a picture and insert a picture. And then you slot your heating element in. It's hard doing it one-handed. So yeah, that's the plug for the heater element plugged in now. And obviously, like I said, there will be a 10mm here, which is to be grounded. So that's what this will be for. That will go in there. Then we will probably run the ground to here, because we've got one very close. So we might just be in luck in terms of having long enough cable. So we'll see how we get on. I'm going to feed this up to where it needs to go on the relay, and then we've got a small amount of cable left. And that is now the what have we done? We've done the feed. So it goes from here up into the relay, out of the relay, and down into the plug for the power. We have also done the ground cable. So what we have done, we've put both of the grounds into one terminal. That will earth or ground off to the chassis up there. Then we have the little white cable from here. I believe will go to number 86 on the right hand side of that. And then the big one is obviously going to ground to this nut, that bolt there, sorry. So it's going to go into that. So I'm going to get that bolted up, and then I will cut the 2.5mm cable to the length that it needs to be, and put that female spade connector onto there. And then the last cable we've got to run is from here over to the BCM down there. And that is it. That's another step done. So as you can see here, if you look on the left, that comes from the battery. The second terminal in, that will be going to the body control module. The third terminal in, which is the blue, that is a ground point. As you can see, it runs up there. And then the fourth one is alive. That runs to this part here. So that powers up. And then the fifth one here, which obviously is another ground, that goes over to the bolt, or the nut, should I say. So that, this side of the wiring aspect is completely done. I have fed this white cable through and underneath the heater matrix and out the other side. So all we've got to do now is splice that into K1 of the body control module, little bit of solder, little bit of heat shrink, and then that should be us ready to go, minus a fuse. We need to put a fuse in, and I don't have the right size fuse. So we are now pretty much at the last step of this retrofit. I'm retrofitting this so that when you press the rear heated screen button, your PTC heater or your auxiliary heater will come on. Chances are, if it's that cold, your rear screen is going to be frosted, your front screen is going to be frosted anyway. So I always hit the rear screen button, and that will give you your instant hot air or your instant heating. So what I've done is I've obviously pulled the cable across. I have taped it to the existing loom, and what we're going to do is, just for neatness, I'm going to de-pin this cable. I'm going to splice it in, throw some heat shrink over, and then pin that back in there, and that'll be that done. So now we've soldered those two together, I'm going to get some heat shrink over it. And now this pin can go back into number 1. Now I'll just tape this together properly. I'm going to put that back in place, lock that across, and then that can go back together. So all we need to do now is fit a fuse, and then this should be all good. Okay. Right, off camera, I thought I had an issue. I've started checking fuses and everything else. Pressing the red screen button, nothing, it doesn't do anything. Basically, long story short, the car has to be running. So if I start this car now, there we go. Turn it round, hit that button. You can literally see the difference. You'll see the lights dim. And that's because obviously there's a current being drawn. So that's it. That's our PTC, or auxiliary heater, fitted. So there is a little bit of stripping involved. You've got to get the BCM down, you've got to get the glove box out, but this should take you no more than, let's say, 2 to 3 hours. I'll say 2 to 3 hours being very generous. Obviously I have done everything pretty neat. If you don't do it neat, then you know, you could get it done even quicker. But the most important thing is you get the relay stuck up somewhere nice and neatly, because you don't want that dangling around. Obviously you've got to remember these still run a live current. Well, not that end as such, but this will still run a live current. So yeah, if you ever listen, that click, that's the auxiliary heater. Happy days. Another way you can test it, obviously once your vehicle's running, as long as your car is cold, if you just hit that, turn these on, I think you can still have these these down, but I'm not sure about the aircon, because technically it always confuses me how you get the aircon to work. So this now, it's fairly cold, but I don't know if that's aircon on or off. Either way, you want your heating on. So just have your heating on, hit your button, and you'll feel it. It's coming through warm, which is lovely. So that's it, guys. That is how you retrofit your PTC or auxiliary heater. Thank you for watching, and as usual, it's beast mode to the world.